and we reconvene in public at about 6:50. No action taken in closed session. Is there let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart, face the flag, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from September 19th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0, no opposition. Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. There's is there an audience to address the board? No audience. Okay, the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Romero. So thank you, board, and appreciate being with you this evening. I'm going to go ahead and review or report on a few different matters having to do with just everything MESA. So I'm going to start with events and learning experiences and highlight a couple of them. A couple of recent learning experiences that I think are very, very important. And then we're going to move into just a spotlight on a scorecard development, give an update there, and talk about attendance and upcoming events. So let's start with events past. So I have just a simple slide here. We continue to engage in the CME overnight trip, and I want next month to, as we've done over the last couple of years, hopefully invite some students to come report on their experiences. That's always a great opportunity for the board to hear directly from them. But this happened, and it should be Friday, but Friday for 7th grade students, and they returned on Sunday. And unlike last year, it was a pretty uneventful there and back. So that was really good. And just everything that was reported back was very positive. And just as it's been in the past, it's been a wonderful experience for students, focus being on science, on conservancy, but also on community building. And so I just wanted to highlight that. I won't get into any more detail, except to say that we're going to do our best to put together, as we have in the past, a brief presentation for the board in November. But that did occur. Our Pally Institute, which is coming up November 1st through the 3rd, that's for 6th grade. That's an outdoor camp as well. And that'll happen Wednesday, November 1st through Friday, November 3rd. Moving on. Our 5th grade students also visited the Moxie Museum of Exploration and Innovation. This has also become a really nice experience for our kids. Many of our kids have gone before, but not all of them. And it just provides us a great opportunity to get out of our confines, to go to a place where just learning, thinking, creating, designing with their classmates. I think that's the big difference. Most of these kids that have attended have either gone on their own or with their family, which is great, but going with their peers and with other kids from their own community, school community, is a wonderful place. And they continue to, just put forward one of the best experiences, I think, between Santa Barbara and LA County. It's been a great opportunity for kids to move in that direction. Hopefully, in the not too distant future, KidStream here in Camarillo becomes a really comparable alternative. We're not quite there yet. I continue to just keep tabs on the development, but a lot of really great things are coming out of there. So anyhow, for the time being, Moxie has provided us a wonderful opportunity, and 5th grade really enjoyed that experience. So, it's these experiences that become really important for kids and allow them to extend their learning in areas of focus outside of school. Moving on, I wanted to just highlight that we continue to forge ahead with implementing components of our framework for the future and learner profile. And the board's heard me talk about this before, but we finally got this launched. And that is the design of our scorecard. It's been in the works for quite some time now. We've received some written correspondence on that. But I just wanted to highlight just its purpose. And as you see there, it's to measure success more broadly than a single standardized test score. We understand that standardized test scores have a place. They have there's a reality to how that works, but we want to also make sure that we are highlighting other aspects of our school culture, participation in clubs, student well-being, other elements of developing a well-rounded program. And they're intended really to gauge our progress toward developing these competencies that are enlisted in the learner profile. We had our very first meeting with the school leadership team, and I landed it there because this team is already a good cross-section of all grades and content areas. And it was a really productive conversation, a lot of really great opportunities to talk about things that we're currently doing and those that we could be doing. And so I'm looking forward to there being another 2 sessions available and bringing back some of those metrics. We even talked through some models of what other schools or school districts might be doing and how those could help us shape our own. But I wanted to make sure that you heard that it is aligned to, or the intent is to align it to the framework for the future, and to also inform our LCAP, and to allow us to reinforce some of the metrics that we already have, but also look at some additional ways to measure our success and our progress so that we continue to maintain a solid focus. So we started with this very simple yet important question: what does success mean to you? And the variety of responses, even from our own team, was pretty was pretty helpful toward envisioning something that could work for us at Mesa, with different age groups, with different audiences and different student interests, different parts of our program that we want to highlight. So I just wanted to let you know that that's well in development. Next item, very, very similar to this, is establishing a 4-quarter plan. So we want to break down the year in a way that allows us to maximize our time, to not let an entire year go by before we evaluate how our students are doing. And so these are pretty much the cycles that we've landed on. And, you know, we're past the beginning of the year. We're fully in cycle 1. Every week, our teachers are meeting to talk about their learning plans, their plans for students, and what kind of information and evidence they're gathering about their learning. So this is something that is really intended to focus our attention on learning and do it in a very systematic way that allows us to make adjustments in real time. So as the board is well aware, and the board helped determine, we're looking for that 5% growth year over year. And that's what our bar is. And we're doing everything possible to do that over the course of the year. And right now we just happen to be in cycle 1. And just over on the left side, you see routine, schedules, goal setting, focus areas. Every grade level and grade level span has areas of focus. And we're really focusing on making sure that our learning progressions in math and English language arts are in particular are consistent. So anyway, more to come on that, but just wanted to highlight that we already have a lot going for ourselves when we talk about the scorecard. Next slide, please. Wanted to transition to attendance. We have our first full month here, and we decided to just tease out TK there. Right now, you know, our mark is trying to reach 95 and above. We fell slightly short of that mark, but on this specific point, We have been focusing a lot on our attendance, on how we educate, how we inform, how we clarify our policies. I can tell you that Miss Inda, who is our school counselor, has actually, it's a phenomenal introduction. She actually created minute meetings. So she has met with every single one of our students across Mesa over the last, what would you say, maybe 8 weeks or so, 7, 8 weeks. And attendance is one of those pieces that she will also help us address. And so we have identified some families and students for whom we want to outreach and just start to have that conversation around making sure that our attendance continues to be a focal point. So there's a lot here that we have looked to build out so that we really stress the importance of it. And this past month was Attendance Awareness Month, so it was a very timely conversation. So we're expecting to continue to build on our strengths. And so far, here's where we are after the first full month. And just to conclude, we have a few upcoming events. I think right now, I can't think past Carnival, which is this Friday. We're expecting that to be a really great turnout, but there's a lot of heavy lifting from a lot of different people. Our PFO has been phenomenal in that, but our PFO is an organization. It's really about the individuals winning. And our staff is at the ready. I know Mrs. Dryden has volunteered to support as well, specifically, so thank you on that front. And, we're expecting a good event. We're expecting a good turnout. It's coming back to the fall where it had been previously. And we're looking to report out good things and a good opportunity to build community with our present and oftentimes past community. Our students come back, our former parents come back, and it's always a good opportunity to reconnect. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and conclude my superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. Any comments?
I guess I was going to plug
Looking forward
Carnival, but he did a good job.
I'm sorry, any comments from Ms. Dryden? Mrs. Dryden?
I was just going to plug Carnival as well, just making sure, everybody's coming. But like he said, I think it's also really fun to see sometimes the high school kids come back and volunteer. And I think that's just another way that shows Mesa builds a community, and we continue to honor the Mesa way, is that we also, are inviting back our high schoolers who need some volunteer hours to come back to a place that they had so many great memories. So both it's for community building at our current present community, but also even those that do choose to come back and still help with the event says a lot, I think, for our school.
Yeah, and I also enjoy watching the kids play together during off school hours, and I think it's a lot of fun to watch and to observe. So looking forward to it. Okay, moving on to board members' reports and communications. We have correspondence from the Ventura County Office of Education. It received the 2023-2024 adopted budget for Golden Valley Charter School. We also have correspondence from the Ventura County Office of Education, who has reviewed the 2023-2024 adopted budget report and local control accountability plan for Mesa Union School District. Any other correspondence from the board members? All right. Moving on to board members' reports and communications. Any?
I have one. I have a report. I attended a week ago the VCC DSA meeting for all the county school boards associations. Prior to that, the Ventura County Committee on District Organization met, and we elected 2 new representatives to serve for another 4-year term. I didn't bring the notes here saying who they were, but it's fully staffed. I'll say, put it that way. But at the meeting itself, they shared what the programs were for the alternative schools. And for us, it doesn't mean a lot to us because typically those are high school age kids that we're talking about. They did highlight them. They also pointed out that they had 100% graduation rate for those that attended the alternative schools. We're talking schools like Frontier, and there's a homeschool program that they're involved. They had people from the parole department and the courts, you know, because some of these students are incarcerated or involved in the legal system. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this is that at the very end, they started talking about, and it was just like the last 2 or 3 minutes, how do we prevent kids from getting involved with alternative schools and being involved with the court system to begin with? And they had this testimony of this one young man who said, and it really struck me, is that when he was in regular ed school, if he asked for help, he felt like he was always put off. The teachers say, well, you figure it out and you're on your own. And he didn't feel like he had any sort of support whatsoever, whatever his learning needs might have been. He felt totally ignored. Whereas in the alternative school, every student felt wanted and needed and a part of the program by not just the teachers, but every staff member. And that's something that I wanted to bring back to Mesa Union and how important that is, that we make the students, regardless of their stature academically, and where they may be, because it's so easy to fall behind. Say specifically in math, if you miss a week of math, you'll be out for a year. It's quite possible for that to happen. And so it's important to be able to have staff and teachers and probably peers as well reach out to these students to invite them and to include them. The person that was there from the correctional facility had mentioned that one of the biggest contributors to children or to students ending up in their system was chronic absenteeism, which I know that that's been on Dr. Ramirez's plate for quite some time. And so how do we manage that? And we used to have a liaison that would reach out to the community, and that person has now moved in another position here at Mason. I don't know if where we stand with that, I don't recall, but making sure that the students are wanted and needed here, I think will have a huge impact, especially when they get into high school. If we can lay that groundwork, that's a very important piece. The third thing had to do with suspensions. Should somebody misbehave, a common thing is they're overwhelming and we just suspend them and now they get a 5-day vacation at home and probably unsupervised. And so what are we really gaining out of that? And I know that we have a desire here to try doing in-home or in-house suspensions first. I didn't know how that impacts ADA one way or the other. Maybe Tammy can speak to that. If somebody is suspended from school, do we count their ADA? If they're absent, regardless if it's in-house or at home, it's just one less student that's like absent for 5 days. Is that correct? And if they're off campus, then we can still include them and we can perhaps figure out some way to reach out to them. So I'm just going to continue to encourage you to focus on that. I know that you have, but after listening to this program, it was so crucial and important. Lastly, I'm going to talk about something that as I was processing all this information, is that one of the schools in our district, at junior high, I'll leave their name out for right now, but I'm certain most everybody is aware. There was a junior high class, and one student shot another student in class. And this has touched me very personally on many, many levels. I know a lot of the players involved. And I would like to think that would never happen here at Mesa Union, but it happened there because this person, one of the people involved, was encouraged by staff to behave in a certain way that was contrary to what the other person didn't want. And it was ignored. This conflict between these two students was largely ignored by the adults at the school. And that's the thing that probably bothers me the most is I look at this whole thing is that the adults failed these two children. And that was concern is that I hope that goes on here. We want kids to be individuals, but we also need to help them understand boundaries and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And that we don't let things slide through the cracks and just saying, well, that's behavior and this is kids that are just trying to go through puberty and figuring out their hormones and all that sort of thing. But this is something that's important to figure out how to deal with conflict in their lives in an appropriate way, rather than bringing a gun to school and ending it that way. So those are kind of my takeaways from this event at the VCC BSA meeting that I thought that I should share with us here. So, and keep that in mind that we can share out to our staff and our teachers about how critically important that is to the students as they matriculate on up into high school, that they can feel like they're always wanted and that they have a way to have some coping skills.
Anything further?
Oh, I had one other thing. That was pretty heavy. Let me change this one. And maybe Ms. Dryden can chime in on this as we were sitting here talking about different things. And after school programs, I know that we got a pretty robust, we've got a large percent of students that are attending in the STEAM program. Is there any sort of club, like a video club, that could participate and put out like a weekly podcast or something about what these STEAM kids are doing and highlight what they're doing? And can this serve as a model to other schools in the district and or the state? And that's what I would, I don't know if it's logistically possible, but I thought it might be something that worth entertaining, is how can we get our kids involved, our students involved, and being a positive force in our local community and in the school community at large.
And I think on that note, they have what they call Friday clubs at STEAM. And one of the clubs is about kind of tracking what they're up to, creating a website, and then sharing information. So they're not at the point where they're ready to post it, but I know that that's one of the clubs. So that's something that they're working on. So I think it's right in line with what you're, thinking as well. So maybe Dr. Mears can just work with Ms. Hokamp on that to make sure that, she knows that the board thinks that's, a great idea and something worth sharing with the broader community.
Well, I'm not necessarily in support of social media overall.
It's the school's website. So it's just on the school's website that they're talking about what STEAM is up to. So it's not a different social media campaign, just FYI.
All right, anything further? All right, Eddie, was that board members' interest and concerns?
Sure.
Okay, all right, so moving on, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
I had just one question. I saw that there was a big refund, or what looked like to be a big refund in the general fund under the purchase order. It was roughly $6,000. If that rings, I don't know if that rings a bell to either Dr. Mears or Tammy. You can, if it doesn't ring a bell, we can talk about it later. It's a refund. So I was just happy to see it.
Well, should we adopt the consent agenda because we can still talk about that? Yes or no?
Do you want, I think Mrs. P, do you want me to? Okay. Can you, Mrs. Dryden, can you please re-ask the question?
Sure, they're in A, so in the there is a large credit of about $6,000 at the end. And so it's a change of a PO. So I was just curious because it's significant because the PO was like 14,000. So since it was such a significant percentage of a change with something from before, I was just curious, what that resulted from. It's PO 324-00022 if you're looking at something.
I'm pretty confident I know the answer, but I'm going to let Ms. Peterson go ahead and give some details, and then I'll add some commentary.
If we're looking something, I also had another question, because I saw that there was a Durham School Services, which sounded to me like a bus rental as opposed to transportation maintenance. So I didn't know, is that, do we end up renting a bus for a field trip?
That was renting a bus for the CME trip,
Okay, so
and I can elaborate in a moment.
So on the P1 question where you're seeing the credit of $6,000, it's actually what the system has done is the PO amount increased to 14,000. And so the system, you see that credit on the side to credit what the original amount was, but then it was changed to be the actual amount of 14,000. If that makes sense.
So it was an
How it's
increase,
showing up
not a
on the report.
decrease?
So we actually had an increase in cost. So the PO, the original PO, it was deducted, and then the actual cost of the now PO is now 14,513.49. That's why you're seeing it's a change order.
And so since that's, about 50% of that, did something just totally go wrong with that project, or?
No, it was the actual PO.
So it's not a
Yes.
change of scope, it's just the PO is in the system wrong?
Originally, they were going to stucco, prime, and paint the CMU wall and repair waterproof and install veneer at building F. And then there were additional services that were added once the original PO was issued. So that's why it increased by $8,000. So the PO is now $14,513. It's for some of the painting that occurred over the summer.
Thank you.
All right. Did you have another question too, Mrs. Dryden?
Well, it sounded like we rented a bus for our CME trip, because that was something we originally weren't going to do, but then it sounded like we ended up doing.
That is correct. So too long of a story, but in effect, we wound up having to rent a vehicle on that Friday morning to take the students to Long Beach. On Sunday, it was our own vehicles that were able to bring our students back.
All right. Anything further? All right. All in favor?
Okay.
Motion carries 5-0, no opposition. Moving on to a public hearing. We have the presentation of initial proposal of Mesa Union School District to the Mesa Union Teachers Association for the 2023-2024 school year negotiations and public comment. At this point, I will go ahead and open it up for discussion from the public. It's approximately 7:21. Give it a couple minutes. Do you know if anybody's gonna make, no, okay. What's that? Trinity, okay, I'll just, then maybe wait 30 seconds, okay? Okay. Okay. See, there's really nobody out there, so. Yeah, okay. I don't see anybody saying anything. So I will go ahead and close the public hearing at approximately, what is it, 7:22. We also have another public hearing for the presentation of initial proposal of Mesa Union School District to the Mesa Union Support Team for the 2023-2024 school year negotiations. Any public comments? I don't think there are any. It was opened at 7:22 and closing at 7:23. Right, is there a motion for the consideration of adoption of resolution 23-2403 in recognition of National Red Ribbon Week?
Make a motion that we adopt the resolution 2324-03 in recognition of National Red Ribbon Week.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0, no opposition. Is there a motion for the consideration of adoption of resolution 23-2404 state building funds application?
I move that we adopt resolution, can't see it now, 23. I move that we adopt resolution 23-24-04, the state building funds application.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have one, and it's just a curiosity thing. This resolution is not in the standard format where you have your whereas clauses and then therefore be a resolve clause. It just says, this is what we're going to do. And there's like 10 items that are there. And I'm assuming that we're following what has been presented and what's applicable.
That's correct. And so what this does is it brings to closure a lot of work over the last 6 months, I think it's been, in terms of collecting information, gaining approval from CDE. It's been a multi-step process. And in effect, we received the resolution from our consultant Schoolworks with the idea that once the board approves, we then submit all of this as a packet to CDE and Department of State Architects for, well, the state basically, to be able to have our place in line in terms of any possible reimbursement for what we project is anywhere between 1.8 and as much as 1.9 million. And last point, all of this is based on already completed projects that if we are fortunate enough to land would certainly be well received. So it's not by any means a guarantee, as I've mentioned before, but it is a huge step in the right direction and gives me an opportunity to express my appreciation for BSA, for Orlando De Leon in particular, who's been collecting all these pieces of information.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0, no opposition. Is there a motion for the consideration of acceptance of the receipt of the Golden Valley Charter School Annual Programmatic Audit 2022-2023?
I move that we receive the Golden Valley Charter School Annual Programmatic Audit of 2022-2023.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0, no opposition. Is there a motion for the consideration of acceptance of the quarterly report on Williams uniform complaints for the quarter ending September 30, 2023?
I'll make a motion to accept the quarterly report on Williams uniform complaints for the quarter ending September 30th, 2023.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No complaints.
I'm sorry.
There were no complaints.
No complaints at all. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0, no opposition. Is there a motion for the consideration of approval of the renewal proposal with Ventura County Arts Council for the art services provided during the 2023-2024 school year?
I make a motion to approve the renewal proposal with Ventura County Arts Council for the services provided during the 2023-2024 school year.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
I had a question. I guess I was wondering what ages this art council is going to support. Or what grades, I should say. Because it said that there was going to be 17 sessions, but it
Yeah,
didn't give
grades
detail.
K through 5.
Anything further? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. No opposition. And we have a first read for the September 2023 board policy revisions. And moving on, is there a motion for the consideration of approval to authorize the following teacher for the 2023-2024 school year in accordance with Education Code 44263, Cindy Davis?
I so move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Oh.
This is a special waiver that we're putting in here. That we should just make that known.
A special waiver, I'm sorry.
Well, she's not, Ms. Davis, which is qualified teacher, she's just not specifically credentialed in math. So.
Correct. She does not have a single subject credential, but has enough units. Correct. And one point of clarification, it is an elective class. Coding is the elective, 6th grade elective.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0, no opposition. And items for future consideration. We have the board areas of focus and the first interim report and future meetings. Monday, November 13th, And Monday, December 11th? Why are we gonna meet on Monday instead of Tuesday?
Actually,
December.
it has to do with some scheduling challenges that we ran into. And so we moved that to Mondays. So this was a couple months back. Yeah. Just trading off with SOMAS.
Right, November's Thanksgiving the following week, or we're on break, right?
Correct.
And then for December, it's just something that works.
fall within the statutory requirements.
Okay.
No, so yeah, the December meeting is a reorg meeting. And we have to statutorily, the board has to statutorily complete that. I want to say it's by the 15th, by December 15th, to reorganize for the following calendar year.
All right, and with that said, we adjourn at 7:31. Thank you.